NewOps days is really important to me because I've seen the rise of DevOps, but I also know some of the struggles that maybe that you deal with on a regular basis, being on the ops side of the DevOps equation, maybe the post-production side of the equation as well. A little bit about DevOps Institute. We're an open member-based community. Please go up to devops.com, devopsinstitute.com, and join our community. It's free, it's open, we have a lot of assets. Most importantly, we look at the human elements of DevOps. So we're very much about helping you grow your career, your organization, your skills. We accredit 7 certifications. Again, please stop by our table to learn more. So what I really want to talk to you about today is skills. So in 2018, DevOps Institute launched a global community research project on what are the state of DevOps skills today. And then year over year, we would do this survey again. About 1,600 people across the world completed the survey. Pretty deep survey, about 30 minutes. So coalition of the willing, absolutely. And the data that came back was really fascinating. About 61% of the respondents came from organizations over 500 employees. So we felt like we got a pretty good enterprise representation. About 22% came from companies over 20,000 employees. About 30% from North America, about 23% from Europe. India was about 17%, Asia Pacific about 8%. So again, we feel like we had a pretty good data sample across the world in terms of what are the skills challenges, right? You hear a lot about skills transformation, or we call it upskilling. Anybody dealing with skills constraints, right? So again, it was a really, really interesting project for us. The report released in early March. I'll give you a link at the end to go up to our website, download the report. It's 48 pages, so it's a pretty deep dive into skills. Today, I'm just going to go over the high-level results that came in and breaking it down into a couple of different function areas. So key takeaways. 3 must-have skill categories emerged almost statistically equal, which I think is really interesting. So automation, not unexpectedly, right, 57%. Process skills, we'll look at what process skills really kind of drill down into, and soft skills, right? Statistically equal, which means your technical skills and your soft skills are both considered almost equal in terms of what skills are must-have. And we'll look at what those soft skills are in a minute. Not unexpectedly, automation makes DevOps a success, but process is necessary for intelligent automation. That's kind of interesting too, right? That you need process in order to make the automation intelligent. Soft skills and technicals, I said, are almost equally important. IT operations and security. Now, you're going to see some data being an operations crowd that's going to be really fascinating because you're going to see where operations is not really at the bottom of the totem pole. It's actually at the top in terms of must-haves. Now, the other thing I need to tell you is of the 1,600 people that responded to the survey, almost equal self-identified as dev or ops. So it didn't skew necessarily in one direction or the other, and that's important when we start to look at the data. Business skills was most important to business leaders. You're going to see a little bit of a disconnect coming up in terms of which role considers business skills to be a critical must-have, and which role is confused by what business skills actually mean, right? And vertical skills were a plus, but only in certain industries. So whether you knew healthcare or manufacturing or, you know, again, certain verticals. The other interesting thing that came out of the data is that most respondents indicated that they would prefer to hire from within. Even though 37% said they were hiring, the predominant thinking is we would like to grow our own staff. So that's also very, very interesting because you see the list of jobs on Indeed and others that are out there. So take a look at this. This is really fascinating. If you look at kind of 3 categories of respondents, C-level, pretty self-explanatory. Management level are VP to about manager, right? So directors, managers, most of those are in either leading teams or hiring position. C-suite said process skills, 54%. Again, pretty statistically. Look at business skills, right? C-suite said 43% are must-haves, right? Practitioners weren't really quite sure. I mean, that's what, more than a 20-point difference between whether we think it's must-have or not, right? Soft skills, again, C-suite said absolutely. Individual contributors we think were confused by what is the importance of some of these soft skills. We'll take a look at that, right? Specific automation, right? Barely touched 30% as a must-have. So you need to understand automation. 57% said that was absolutely a must-have, but the specific tools were less important, right? Because we know the tools change, right, on a regular basis. So let's kind of drill down into some of these categories. Again, unfortunately, I only have a very limited amount of time to share with you on this, so I do encourage you to pull the full report. A lot of graphics there. So in process skills, number one, software development lifecycle. So if you're an operations person, right, you're on the ops side of the house, however you define that, you still need to understand SDLC. Because we are all involved in software delivery today. And that came out very, very clearly. Remember, half were developers, half were operations people. Second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth were really interesting to me because they're critical thinking skills. So process flow and analysis, number two, must have skill. Didn't say what kind of process, didn't say whether it's Scrum or ITIL or any of the myriad of frameworks that we have, but understanding how to analyze flow came up as the number two process skill. Then you go back into source control models, agile, but Scrum came out lower, right? So understanding agility at its highest level, right? Test-driven deployment, systems thinking. 39% said systems thinking. The ability to see the whole end-to-end was a must-have skill as well. And then the bottom half kind of drills into very, very specific process frameworks, like ITIL, like Scrum, like project management, like program manager. Anybody a project manager, PMP?
Used to be.
Used to be. Okay, that's an interesting.
Not a project manager anymore.
Okay, but that's interesting. Now, it's not that that's not important, right? But the linear approach of project management, I think the indicators have to become more iterative, more agile, right? More looking at the value stream than the project plan, right? So that was kind of interesting to see that the upper half were really about higher level process skills, and the lower half were more specific to specific frameworks or what we would call best practices around that. On the soft skills side, again, not unexpectedly, cooperation and collaboration, problem-solving skills, interpersonal skills, sharing and knowledge, right? Empathy. Look at customer experience skills, right? 44% said customer experience skills are must-have. Now, we may not understand exactly what that means, right? Want to drill down a little bit deeper into that, but communication and collaboration is not something that's inherent, right? It's something, you know the difference between like communication and collaboration? What's the difference? Somebody tell me, what's the difference what's the difference when you collaborate as opposed to when you communicate? Anybody know? Somebody said something I can't hear.
Share versus tell.
It's share versus tell, absolutely. On a communication, I tell you something, and then you tell me something back, right? In collaboration, we share, but even more importantly, I ask your opinion. What do you think about that, right? What's your expertise? Bring me your perspective on it. Number one, soft skills. And again, if you go through this, you can really see there isn't a soft skill that didn't emerge as being critical, right, or a must-have. And these are skills, I mean, to Charles's point this morning, we have to be able to teach it, right? We have to be able to groom this inside of our teams because it isn't something that we would say is natural. You're naturally, like I'm an extrovert, right? So I naturally have good interpersonal skills. Okay, maybe that is so for 1.1% of the population. The rest of us need to learn how to do that. Business understanding. Remember we said there was a disconnect on the C-suite versus further down. So soft skills definitely emerged as absolutely top-line critical. And I said, hopefully this data gives you specifics about which soft skills and how do we go from there. Now, if you look at functional skills, here's where everybody in ops gives a big yay, right? Because number one and number two in functional skills came out as operations, right? So whether you're a developer, whether you're an operations person, or anywhere in between in the scope of IT roles, IT operations knowledge, IT infrastructure knowledge, security practices 1, 2, and 3. Right? DevSecOps is emerging very much as a trend, right? Really starting to move security into a DevSecOps mentality. But development, operations, anyone in between the two has to understand operations just as much as operations has to understand SDLC, right? Can you see a little bit of cross-skilling there, right? And again, not by a little bit, 52% across that wide range said these are must-have skills, right? Security, of course, as well. Testing is another one that shows up throughout the report as being critical. Regardless of your role, you need to know a little bit more about testing, right? Because continuous testing, automated testing, shifting left is important as well. Governance, risk, and audit didn't rise high, right? 5 years ago, I would have told you it would have been higher up in the must-haves. It's not that compliance isn't important, but it'll be interesting to see that next year and see, where some of these roll out or not. Technical skills, no surprise, cloud, right? Whether it's AWS, whether it's Google Cloud, whether it's Microsoft, but definitely cloud emerged as the #1 technical skill. But look, work your way forward down, right? Analytical knowledge as a technical skill emerged as #2 behind cloud. So that basically says whether you're using analytics, whether you're using tools, whether you're using machine learning, but the ability to have technical skills and analytics is critical for everyone, right? And something that everybody has to groom. And then, you work your way down into specific technologies. Big data didn't rise high, AI didn't rise high, but we think that's because there isn't enough must-have in those areas that they can deem it as a critical skill. I would expect next year we would see more of that as well. Mainframe knowledge still there, right? Anybody in a mainframe environment? Yeah, it's still there, right? It isn't off the chart. And we're starting to see more about DevOps in a mainframe environment, so I think that's important as well. You look at mobile. A few years ago, I think mobile would have been really way up there on the top, and I think, right now it's kind of sitting in the middle. And if you take anything away from here, the upper half of each of these categories really looks at the higher level skill, not the tool-specific skill, not the technology-specific skill, because it's moving very, very quickly, right? So groom your top-level skills, your critical thinking skills, your, call it best or good practice skills that can be applied regardless of the underpinning technology. So again, really, really fast overview of some of the data. The data's really deep, breaks it down into a couple of different categories. So if you look at kind of, where does this leave us, right? First of all, have you heard about the concept of T-shaping? Anybody hearing about the concept of T-shaping? Anybody not heard the term T-shape? Okay, good. I get to tell you about it. So T-shaping is, we grew IT up as an organization of specialists. Right? I've been in IT a very, very long time. And so we grew this tree with all these branches, and each of the branches was a specialty. And so you self-identify according to your specialty, and that's the stem of your T, right? I'm a software engineer, I'm an infrastructure engineer, I'm a security engineer. That's the stem of your T. Right now, the most hireable and desirable professionals are those that have a broad range of skills across the top of their T. Right? So what you're looking at here are skills that you should be adding to the top of your T. Maybe it's testing skills, maybe it's soft skills, right? I'll give you a quick analogy. My daughter's an artist, and she's a painter. But she'll explain that she needs to know just enough about clay, right? She needs to know just enough about metal art so that she can add that to her painting to make it richer, right? To make it more unique. Well, you're artists. So you need to add to the top of your T the skills that will help you be more multidimensional. And maybe you'll develop 2 core competencies or 3 core competencies. For now, keep your competency, your STEM, fill the top of your T with a lot of other types of skills. It makes you a richer professional in more ways than one, just saying, right? So again, just to sum it up, ops and certainly development, security, quality, testing, that's what makes up DevOps, really. And you know what, if you're struggling with what DevOps is, anybody really like, what is DevOps? Is it a philosophy? Is it a movement? I'm going to tell you today my definition, it's new IT, right? It's new IT. It's a new generation of IT. And if you look at the results of the survey, you can absolutely see that new IT we may call it DevOps, is infrastructure, security, development, testing, quality, customer experience, right? It's all about customer experience, right? Polish your soft skills every day, but build your automation skills too, right? Really kind of find a balance between it. Be happy that companies are investing from within. I mean, again, 61% came from companies over 500 employees. That's a pretty healthy number that's saying we want to grow our own teams, right? We want to grow their skills. But you have to be expandable, right? You have to be able to go beyond your current comfort zone, right? And start looking at which skills do you want to add to the top of your team. Okay, so with that, I'm going to end with collaborate, cooperate, be a problem solver. It's never a better day than today to be in IT. You have an opportunity to grow your skills in so many different ways, regardless of what your core competency is. Take advantage of that. Thank you very much.
What was your favorite outcome that you saw in the data from the report?
So certainly the validation that soft skills is as important as technical skills, I think, was really important. You know, in DevOps, we talk a lot about culture, right? And we talk about culture as if it's surgical, like we could surgically remove the old culture and surgically attach a new culture. And I think, Charles, you talked a lot about that this morning, right? Changing technology is easy, changing people is hard. Right, so transforming an organization or transforming a culture doesn't transform, people transform. And I think the data in the report really validated that your human skills, right, the skills that make you uniquely human are as important as your technical capabilities. Don't undervalue that, right? That's sometimes a differentiator between moving to the next level and moving not.
Absolutely. I was recently at a CIO event, and soft skills was a big part of a lot of the panel discussions and a lot of the things that they discussed that were top of mind for them with any of the technologies that they adopted. So cool. Thank you very much, Jayne Groll, everybody.